All right, welcome to this week's episode of Good Playing with You, the weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and I'm joined by our Good Playing Good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey.
And Matt Molding.
Hey now.
We have a great show for you today. It's going to be huge. We're going to be covering all of the Xbox insanity. But first, before we dig into the crazy, let's have a little bit of good news.
Yeah, we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom digital movies to give away to our wonderful listeners. Jason Momoa returns as Aquaman when his enemy, Black Manta, puts his new family and the fate of the seas in jeopardy. Aquaman must ally himself with his banished brother and risk it all or lose everything. So what we want you guys to do is we want you to go to our Twitter page, follow us at Good Playing With You on Twitter. Check out the giveaway posts that we're going to put up and comment with your favorite DC video game and why. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose 5 winners that have our favorite comments to receive a digital code to own the movie. This is open to only U.S. residents, and you can also buy it now and get $3 off the digital movie at wb.com/Lost Kingdom. Super excited. It's the last movie of the DCEU. It's doing really well. It's a really great movie, and we're really happy to give it to you guys. So check us out.
That's awesome. Thanks for that. All right, now let's jump into the headlines of the week. We're going to completely skip over what we're playing and jump right into the news because this week has been crazy. It's been an insane week, actually, for gamers. The Xbox brand is on fire, and no one seems to know what's going on. For those of you not familiar with the controversy that developed this week, let me get you up to speed. It started over the weekend when The Verge and Xbox Era reported claims that 2 major Xbox exclusives, Indiana Jones and The Great Circle and Starfield, could both come to PS5. All of this follows weeks of rumors and speculation that the rhythm action game Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Gameworks and Rare's Sea of Thieves could also be coming to PlayStation in the future. The Verge's story says Hi-Fi Rush announcement is set for, quote, the coming weeks, end quote, and data mined assets imply that PlayStation and Switch exclusive shirts for its main character exist in the code. Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb also added fuel to the fire by adding another game to the rumor list of titles potentially jumping to PS5, third-person shooter Gears of War. Then Reset Era followed up to add that Hellblade 2 could be going multi-platform. And what about the biggest of all Xbox exclusives? There's been some talk from insiders speculating that even Halo could be going to the PlayStation as well. Those flames were fanned by Games Radar in an article that noticed a job posting for a lead game systems designer at 343 Industries to work on a Halo project for, quote, all players on all platforms, end quote. To say that the Xbox fans collectively lost their shit would be an understatement. In response to all of the crazy, Xbox head Phil Spencer tweeted on Monday, February 5th, quote, we're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week, where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future Xbox. Stay tuned, end quote. As of today, which is Thursday night, we still have yet to find out when the Xbox event will be. So that brings us to where we are now. And it doesn't seem to be a very good place. In a survey on IGN.com, over 40% of 4,000 people polled said they were, quote, not very confident in the future of Xbox. It seems the hardcore community's confidence in Xbox is at its lowest point since the 2013 E3 Xbox One reveal disaster. So those are the facts. And now, to unpack it all and predict what might happen next, I turn to my trusted duo of Matts. Gentlemen, is this a big deal? Is this not a big deal? What's going on here? Let's unpack and make sense of all this.
So let me preface this with I loved the Kinect reveal. So I thought that reveal was fantastic. I really enjoyed watching TV and playing games at the same time. So I might not be the person to answer this question, but I don't actually think it's a big deal at all. I think that it's great for Xbox to give their games to other platforms. I think that's probably not good for their consoles, but their consoles haven't sold well for 2 generations now. So maybe this is what they need to get their bottom line in. And I might be in the minority, but if I want to play a game on the PlayStation, I'll buy the PlayStation and play it there. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, I think it completely nullifies the Xbox Developer Direct that we just had, where they dove into, well, Indiana Jones for one thing, and Hellblade. So if those are coming to the PlayStation, it just makes me wonder, wow, what were they thinking on the timing on that one? Since this is such big, it's bombshell news. It's, there's like the fate of Xbox is basically going on right now, and it's being discussed. So it's a little bit concerning. And there was a lot of news. I mean, we covered that a ton and in depth. So I'm just thinking, what was going on there? Like, what is happening over at Xbox?
That is a great question, and I was thinking about that myself. You said this comes hot on the heels of their developer direct, and what's going on with the timing. And I have to say that's clearly got to be an accident. They really probably did not expect all of these leaks to start happening, and it started with one developer and one code, and then kind of trickled out snowballed over the weekend and got out of control that Phil Spencer had to say something. But what he said, unfortunately, was really vague. He said, we're going to be having a business update in the next week. We still don't know, when that's going to be and what's exactly going to be said. He only said that because something needed to be said. I think they're back on their heels. They're reacting again to this controversy that they've caused for themselves by trying to do this a little bit and secretive and on the sly. And they've caused this sort of issue. And now they need to come out and tell us exactly what's going on. But I don't even know if they know what's going on. My concern here is that there are, two different sides of the house. One's their financial CFO sort of situation who probably wants to make a return on that huge investment that they just made in Activision Blizzard. And then there's the other who's a little bit more strategic, probably like maybe Phil and that side of the house, who wants to build the Xbox brand to be even more powerful and in the future. And that, literally is like Xbox is at war with itself right now. It doesn't even know what it's doing, and we're still waiting to figure out what's going on. I predict a lot of assistants and people are going to be working on PowerPoints like crazy over the weekend, trying to get some sort of consistent marketing message. So hats off to you guys there, because I know it must be tough, but trying to consolidate their vision into a simple message and get that out there, because people are waiting, and I don't unfortunately think they know what's going on. That's my biggest concern.
Everything that we're talking about is all rumor, right? There's nothing is official. It's all someone found something and posted it on Twitter, right? And then it started this whole conversation snowballing.
Code.
Yes.
Something.
Yeah. And then developers kind of started breaking NDAs and leaking out these little games that they had been working on and that sort of stuff too.
So I mean, I think this had to have been in the cards already during the Blizzard acquisition. No, like maybe this is something that helps push them along with the legal troubles. I mean, get the approval for all these companies or all these countries to give them the approval to buy Blizzard. I mean, so maybe this is something they've known for a while and we're just now getting the leaks.
It could be, but my theory there is that we would have heard of this because so much content accidentally leaked out of that trial. We kept getting unredacted documents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That gave numbers that revealed
what kind of
their
documents? Can you say that again?
Shut up.
Unpterodactyl documents. Okay.
Yes, those are my favorite kind. And they leaked out information about their next set of consoles, when the next generation is going to start. They gave hard financial numbers, even Sony's numbers on the 300 million for cost.
Right.
So they leaked so much information. I know this would have leaked too had it been in there. So my guess is this is something new, and this is
Something
something that they're dealing with right now. That's my guess.
It's a wild one. I mean, the fate of Xbox is really going down right now, and to imagine that Starfield, after so much hype, could potentially come to PS5 is just like kind of like a gut punch for any, hardcore Xbox fan out there.
I 100% agree. I know, Molding, you're a little bit more relaxed on this,
Yeah.
and it's true. I think you know, we don't know all of the facts, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I can understand the hardcore panicking and jumping. I think the hardcore have been led along for such a long time, saying, "Okay, the games are going to come. It's going to be great." That sort of stuff.
You mean the
Finally,
hardcore Xbox fans?
yes,
That's what
hardcore
you're talking about?
Xbox fanboys and girls, and they've been strung along for such a long time. And eventually, the games are going to come. The games come, and they're like they stumble a little bit, but then they show this direct, so they're really great. And then this happens. Man, it has got to be rough to be an Xbox super fan because they have gone through a roller coaster, and this is the last thing they need.
So it makes me think that that Game Pass, where it's really great for us as gamers, is probably not so good for their bottom line. If they're thinking about giving these games or sending these games to their competitor, like it makes me think that that maybe giving these day one. I didn't buy Starfield. I don't know that either of you bought Starfield. Well, I
Nope.
paid for the extra little bonus thing, so maybe
Yeah.
I gave a little bit of money for it. But maybe they need to do this for their bottom line, especially after spending billions on Blizzard.
That's a great point, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Is that we know that 25 million people are subscribed to Game Pass right now, which is a large number. But with the shopping spree that Microsoft has been on, acquiring all of these companies and all of these games, I don't know if it's quite enough to support all of that development. They are definitely going to want to recoup costs more, but there needs to be a clear, concise, communicated strategy for what that is going forward. So we don't have these fire drills and crazy. Sorry, Laura, I know I cut you off.
Oh yeah,
no,
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about also, I'm just thinking about a Sony cut on some of these games though too. Like they're going to be taking a percentage of sales as well, and now don't you think they're going to be gouging also when it comes to some of these games? I mean, they're going to be I'm assuming they could be taking a huge cut of their sales, so this potentially couldn't be as beneficial for Xbox as they're hoping. Do you think that's possible?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I do think.
Yeah.
I do think, yes. I think what you're getting at here is that it is short-sighted. It's not just with one game. What's going to happen here is that now everybody's going to just go PlayStation. They are going to lose sales of not just that one game, but of multiple games from their store. So Mr. CFO, money guy over here is short-sighted, thinking, well, we're going to recoup our costs real quick on these games and improve our bottom line in the near term. But what they're not looking for is how emotional and reactive gamers are and how habitual they are. And they're not looking at the long-term strategy. And what they're doing is they're going to be clipping the revenue from their own Xbox ecosystem for good. And if they start putting these games, I'm afraid, on other platforms like PlayStation.
So I'm not worried about the exclusivity factor. I think exclusivity is a terrible thing for gamers, and but I also think that having only two big consoles and the PC, I think that's also bad for gamers. I think that competition is really needed. But what I'm super concerned about of all this, what it really comes down to for me, is all of the digital purchases I've made of Xbox games, and if I get to keep them. That's what's really scares me. So does that mean that next generation of Xbox doesn't exist and I have to buy some sort of dongle or something for my TV and play it on? I mean, at least I get to keep my purchases, but is that how I'm gonna play games from now on Xbox games?
You kind of hit the nail on the head there, Malding.
As much as I love to play with my dongle, I don't want to have it be the only way to play Xbox games.
I'm afraid,
Eventually I get tired.
The last I heard, the dongle is been put on the shelf. I don't think they're not sticking with it.
Is it a dead dongle?
It's a dead
that makes
dongle.
me sad. It's not
Totally
limp.
It's limp.
I mean, Malding, completely agree. The digital library is something to be concerned about. They've been removing games left and right. I wanted to mention this on the last podcast, but they removed Spec Ops: The Line, which is a cult classic Xbox game. They removed that from the store and they removed it from Steam. So this is one of those things where it's a little concerning, because down the line, if Xbox goes away, what are you going to do with that digital library? You can't just sell it at GameStop.
Yeah. For $2. Wait, so Matt, with that game, that just means it's not being sold. It doesn't mean if I were to own it already that I wouldn't be able to play it. Is that true?
That is true. So if you have the copy now, this actually sort of happened with Metal Gear Solid. I believe it was Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker on the Xbox. They had like a licensing problem, and so they removed it, and people thought it was never coming back. So this is type of a thing that, it potentially could never come back, and that'd be crazy. But I think the digital library is something that we're in rocky, shaky ground right now, and if there's no Xbox to play your digital library, you're definitely out of luck there.
Yeah, and that touches on one of the other rumors that I wanted to bring up here, is that when GameStop got itself caught up in this little kerfluffle this week as well.
Ooh,
when it released, thank you. When it tweeted out something about a demo day that you could come by and check out Microsoft Game Pass in their store, and this caused a lot of people to panic, saying they're losing the Xbox brand. The Xbox is going away. The other reporters have come out and said that, this was something that was only on the GameStop side. It wasn't a Microsoft approved message or anything like that, but it was a signal that to, add fuel to the fire that maybe Xbox itself is going away, and that Microsoft then turns into a software company. Do you think that could potentially be the play? And if so, is it a good strategy for Xbox?
I mean, if they're losing money on their consoles, they got to do something, right? So if this is the way that they do it to maintain their games, then I'm just gonna buy stuff on PlayStation. But what I won't do is, I think from now on, and we've talked about this on the other pods too, is I think I'm just gonna start buying stuff on physical media. I think I'm just gonna have to not be lazy and not lie down in my underwear and buy a game. I need to put pants on and go
drive to the GameStop.
Drive to the GameStop.
Yeah, I totally support that notion. And
you mean putting pants on?
Yes. Okay. Get some pants on.
Yeah.
And but I think there's something a little funky about firing up the PlayStation and potentially playing Game Pass on there. That just seems a little odd to me. I think this could be something that's more along the lines of, maybe they do create a little dongle action. I think that, or it might go
Everybody
all
likes
cloud.
a little dongle action.
It might be a large
dongle. Dongle?
Okay.
XL dongle, and because that is something that is concerning. If they're changing up names like that, where it's going Microsoft, and the Xbox is just kind of going away, maybe they change the name from the Xbox altogether. It could be like Game I don't know,
Pass.
Game Station.
Game Station.
And it's I could see it maybe going completely cloud based. If something were to go that way, like in the way of, gosh, I cannot think of the freaking Fire Stick little arcade thing they have, but I can see it being like that and just all cloud based.
Would it be weird for you, Matt, to play Halo on a PlayStation?
Well, Dan mentioned something a little about loyalty, and I don't see myself playing Halo on a PlayStation. I think there'd be something totally foreign and obscure with that. I just having a PlayStation controller in my hand, just knowing that, it just seems too weird. I would have to get some sort of Xbox controller in my hand to play a game like Halo.
Really?
Yeah. I think you would.
Yeah.
I think it would be weird at first, but you'd get used to it. You'd forget what system you're playing on, and you get into the game. I think for me, one of the main things here as we bring up, the potential of Xbox, the brand itself going away, maybe the console, there's not another generation, maybe that stops. And that kind of like talk and that kind of concern makes me as a consumer not want to buy Xbox games at all going forward, knowing that there's potential that my library could completely go away. That when they step on rakes like this and they're not clear on their messaging and their vision, it just pushes me more towards PC and it pushes me more towards PlayStation to buy my digital purchases, because I don't know if Xbox has a future now and they're not giving us any information.
That's a really good point that you made about PC. I think PC is just having a moment right now. And I think if Xbox, maybe they see it and they think, hey, we could thrive better on just doing Game Pass all the time, just on PC. That's all we need. We don't need to worry about low console sales. Let's just throw our money into the PC world. Is that do you think that's a possibility?
I totally think so. It depends on, I could see people are always going to want something under their TV, though. They're going to want that sort of console experience. But I think that, Valve kind of already has their foot in the door. Maybe they're just toes just a little bit with, their Steam Deck and the fact that that can be connected to a TV. And, that could be a potential avenue of where some of this ends up going.
Wait, you can connect the Steam Deck to the television?
Oh yeah.
I didn't like a Switch? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy as a Switch.
That's a game changer for me, to be able to play games from my couch rather than a chair at my computer, because I'm at a computer all day long. That's not how I want to play my games.
Okay, I totally agree. But the reason that I haven't gone Steam Deck completely is because it is a PC. PC still has that thing of, will it work? Will it won't work? It's still got that thing of, does it even support the controller? The beauty of a console is that you put it in there, it works, relatively should work most of the time, and I don't have to worry about much other than keeping it updated and that sort of stuff. So I agree.
Totally.
Of the idea of a Steam Deck sounds awesome, but if it's going to work.
I mean, speaking of not working, Matt, didn't you have a bunch of problems today with Microsoft, or am I?
Oh, yeah, I went off on them. I did and speaking of PC, I did a clean install on Windows on my computer, and I had bought a license, and it wasn't activating through my account. I bought it through the official Microsoft store, and I was on the phone with them all day, like from probably 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. just calling them. I'm like, this is not activating. Like, I need a product key. It's not working digitally. And so I was like, I'm about to go on a tirade on Twitter. So I was like, Microsoft, I'm like all capsing. I'm like, Microsoft is the worst customer service ever. And I actually felt that way. It still isn't resolved. Eventually, I just was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, I'm having a aneurysm, and I just went online and bought a key, just a Windows 10 Pro key for like $25, because I was like, I can't deal with that. So I still need to recoup that $200. I bought it official store.
So like through your account, you're on your account.
Yeah.
You buy it, and then it just doesn't.
I know.
Work. Do you like that? Do you like that?
We're getting yes.
Oh, sorry.
We need to get back to the
Sorry.
But maybe this is a sign, though, that not only
that
the
Microsoft
Xbox is
has
on fire.
bigger problems than just the Xbox.
Agreed.
That is exactly right. So if Microsoft ends up going, software only, they come out next week and they're like, okay, guys, we've changed our mind. We're going software only. We're going full Game Pass. It's changing its name from Xbox Game Pass to Microsoft Game Pass. Basically, and your digital library is going away. So worst case scenario, worst case scenario, what is the path forward then for Microsoft as a gaming company? Are there any positives? Is this? Do you see any potential in this, or what do you see happening?
Well, if I will say for one thing, if the Xbox games fall under the Microsoft support, it's not looking good. Okay. No, I think for me, it'll be weird seeing the games on like let's say a PlayStation. I think that's, like I already kind of mentioned it. Playing
the first
a Gears
Sonic was strange on Nintendo, but now I don't really see a problem with it.
Actually, that is true, and so I think there is something there. I feel like, to be honest, I feel like the negatives still outweigh the positives. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly the positives are. I think Sony could potentially, without the competition, they're going to have the ability to gouge as much as they want, which makes me just, that is
$80 games.
Yeah,
make
$80 games,
and they don't even have any first parties revealed. So it's like they're definitely kicking back, and they're letting Microsoft step on all the rakes and that it can.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's kind of an L for me right now.
Either way, there's no way they could spin this to be positive.
I'm honestly trying to figure it out.
I don't either. I'm just asking questions here.
No, I honestly don't. I think it's not a good look, personally.
I think that the positive spin for them is, okay, obviously this is all rumor, all conjecture, but their positive spin is, to the PlayStation fan base, you can now play our exclusives on your PlayStation. This is for the gamers. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. However, if my digital library disappears, I will never buy a Microsoft product ever again. If that happens.
And let's just say, what do you think is the most positive thing that could come out of next week's press conference with Phil? That's
a good question, because I was wondering, either way, they've done damage to their brand by not reacting to this and not getting ahead of it. They're playing reactive. They're back on their heels, and we're still waiting to find out what happens. So right now, everyone is on pins and needles wondering about the future and their games and that sort of stuff. So the best case scenario I see happening here is they come out next week and they're like, hey guys, sorry about all the crazy leaks. Wasn't that a crazy week? Here's the situation. We've invested a metric fuck ton of money in all of these studios, and we need to recoup that. So some games, like the Sea of Thieves and things we don't really care about, and smaller games, I know, Hi-Fi Rush and stuff like that. Those are the ones. But we're still going to be competitive. We still believe in the Xbox brand. We're still going to keep our exclusives to ourselves. And then they close out the announcement by putting Diablo 4 on Game Pass. That's
whoa.
For me.
Well,
that would be
that would be awesome. I would be actually really hyped. That is the positive spin.
That would be the positive spin. Well, what about timed exclusives? What if they say Elder Scrolls, we have it for a year, and then it's open to everybody? What would you feel about that?
I think honestly, their non-response right now is shaking my confidence in them as a company, and it's like, for going forward, it seems safer to start buying stuff on PlayStation. So unless the game is a banger, I don't mind, as a PlayStation gamer or a PC gamer, letting the Xbox people bug test the game, and then I pick it up a year later with all the DLC for the same price and know it works.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Ugh. It really does. It sucks.
I know. I say that now, though, but then if the game's great, I'm totally in day one. I just say that.
I mean, I feel the exact same. I would feel the exact same playing Starfield on the Xbox or playing it on PlayStation. It does not matter to me. But that's because I can afford to have the multiple consoles, and some people just can't afford to have. They can only choose one,
right?
And they seemingly, for the past 2 generations, have been choosing PlayStation. So I think it's smart for Xbox to be like, well, that's where the gamers are. We want to sell these games. We invested so much money in these studios. Let's give these games to the PlayStation.
Well, right now I'm just trying to think of the Xbox library and like, is there a game? Well, I mean, we own both the systems, but is there a game that's like, are there gamers out there that are like, I cannot live without this game being on PlayStation? Or it's just like, I'm trying to think. I guess Halo really would be the most valuable
and
to go.
Gears of War, right?
And Gears
be
of War.
those two.
But the
There
next
hasn't even
Elder
been-
Scrolls is going to be big too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Elder
that's gonna
Scrolls
be
would
one you
be
buy
big.
a console for.
Elder Scrolls is a console buying game for me.
Yeah.
So whatever console Elder Scrolls comes out on is the one I'm buying. That is absolutely the
That's
case.
true.
But some people feel that for Halo. I've never felt that for Halo.
Yeah. Especially where Halo's at now. Oh,
Yeah,
yikes.
especially that
Not a
last
good
game.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. What about you? Is there a console game, or is there a game that's a console buy for you that makes you buy that?
Metal Gear, I did.
Hmm.
I mean but that's been a second. I mean, I think people bought consoles for Starfield. That's also like
Yeah.
kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I know. Actually, I have a friend who bought the game. He's like, I'm going to get a Series S just for for Starfield. And now I feel like that is I mean, I don't want to say betrayal because I feel like that's extreme wording, but it's like if they're going to just go around, they're going to turn around months later and say it's coming to the PS5. That's going to be just
Yeah.
it's tough. That's a tough.
Yeah,
one.
I'd be a little sore if that happened.
For sure.
Wait, does your friend regret doing it?
No, he loves Starfield.
Oh, good.
Loves Starfield. So I think it was a win there, but it's still. I mean, he would have saved himself $300.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Game Pass is fun. Like I never would have played Pal World probably, or you discover lots.
Yeah.
of
Absolutely not. There's tons. I wouldn't. Vampire Survivors. I would never have played without Game Pass. Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah.
There's
And
a lot of Game Pass games.
I love my Series S.
Persona 3, which I'm playing right now. Yeah,
I'm playing that as well.
Yeah,
So
playing
good.
it all week. Would never have purchased that game without Game Pass.
So true.
Well, while all gamers wait on pins and needles to hear what Xbox has in store for us in terms of strategy next week at some undetermined time, and which we will definitely react to on next week's podcast.
Maybe
thing
twice. Maybe it's so important we talk about it twice.
It could be. So you'll have to tune in and find out what happens next. But in the meantime, one of the more interesting things that has come out of this are more rumors than you could shake a stick at. The next ones involve next-gen consoles. So with all of the questions going on with the Xbox brand and where it's going, one of the articles I wanted to bring up was the next gen Xbox being leaked, which is ironic because people are thinking that they're getting out of the business of consoles. But an Xbox community member, Mag, said on his podcast that from his inside knowledge that the next gen Xbox is on track for 2026. It will feature two SKUs. One, the main console that's big, beefy, like a Series X that goes under your beautiful 4K TV. And then one that is a Switch-like handheld, showing that Microsoft is now potentially looking to move more in the handheld and mobile market for their games. The reason I bring this up, because I'm sure it's wild rumors and speculation, but it kind of dovetails with an article that you brought up, Lord, and added to our show. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what you found on the internet?
Absolutely. Well, there's talk of the PlayStation Portable 2, and this is coming from a tweet from TCMF Games.
Sounds legit.
Super legit, highly reputable.
That's where I get all my news.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like set in stone with this guy. It basically, there's a new report saying Sony is actively working with AMD to create a new handheld. The new handheld will be in the same line as something like a Steam Deck, which is like, that's awesome. The handheld will be capable of playing PS4 games, some PS5 games, and then it says it's in active development, so anything can happen. And then the handheld is meant for the PS6 family, so it could be years out. And I mean, I don't know. They have like a little picture here, and man, just looking at the PSP or whatever this variation is, it's just so sexy. I would love.
Oh,
I love it. The PSP was such a great console. So a PlayStation Portable 2 that is high powered that can play PS4 games and PS5 games. Super stoked about
and
it.
Xbox games, evidently.
And Xbox games.
Right.
And
Too
tech
soon.
companies
Too
love
soon.
to copy each other. So if they caught wind that Xbox is diving into the handheld world, I am sure PlayStation will be right on their heels with this one. So hopefully this news isn't these rumors aren't too crazy and there's some facts behind it.
That was my question. So I thought they were interesting. Like, I wasn't even necessarily going to mention my rumor until you reported your rumor. And then I was like, okay, these might be bogus. But at the same time, they're both saying, like, okay, the console industry is kind of seeing what Nintendo's doing and kind of seeing what Steam is doing and the Raj Ally in there. And, there's so many people making these handhelds now. Is moving to a handheld for the next generation a great idea? Is it inevitable? Do we see it earlier in this generation? What do you guys think?
Here's my question about Xbox. Xbox hasn't won in 2 generations of console. What makes them think that they're going to win in a handheld situation with 2 companies? Switch is we're going to get Switch 2 probably this year. And PlayStation, which has their portables, they've been doing portables now for 15 years. So what makes Xbox think they can jump in or Microsoft think that they can jump in and win that battle?
It would have to be something revolutionary, if you ask me, that Xbox would have to do. It might have to be almost in the line of like a Switch type of peripheral, maybe something. It would have to be super dockable. And one thing both of these cannot be is cloud-based. We cannot have cloud-based at all. These have to have well, I guess they could be digital only. That's fine, but I would prefer some type of cartridge and or little like a UMD. Let's bring back the UMD. Like
yeah,
was that the
PSP thing? Yeah, that was super sexy.
That was super
Yeah,
cool.
no,
Like
still
that
have
is
Starship Troopers on it.
Yeah,
Dude,
there you
I've
go.
seen
That's all you
He-Man.
need.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another movie, Layer Cake, that you had to own. I don't know why that movie was so around on the PSP format,
Oh, wow.
but I just think these consoles, they cannot, unless maybe that is what the Xbox version can do that PSP can't. Maybe they can get some sort of low latency handheld working, so their cloud base actually works with, I would honestly say like 0 latency, but I don't know if that's even possible, but something super low so there's 0 input lag, and then maybe they'll have a dub on their hands.
All the cloud-based games I've played on my Xbox it's hardwired, so it's not. I mean, maybe that's not a good example, but yeah, they have been in the cloud realm for years, so maybe that's where they are going to succeed where the others have failed. Yeah,
possibly. Dan, what do you think?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I can't really add more to it. Although, if consoles are going to go more towards handheld, I'd love to see it happen sooner rather than later. I don't think there's really anything that they can't do eventually with time. So maybe an Xbox Series S, the smaller guy coming to a handheld. I'd love to see it, as soon as possible. That doesn't sound like it with next week's meeting, but
I mean, well, part of that Blizzard acquisition or the Activision Blizzard was King, which is all the phone games, the mobile games. So maybe they're gearing up for something like that.
Do you think they could potentially announce next gen next week? Like, do you think that's in the realm?
I could see them doing that to distract from everything. Being like, hey, we're just kidding, guys. We have these 2 consoles that are coming out in
I feel like
10 years or whatever.
That's right, though. They need a distraction. And that's why I was kind of jokingly talking. Well, it was also my internal wish that like Diablo was coming to Game Pass. I kind of sat it out and waited. But I think that you're hitting like on something that I was kind of saying, like they need, hey, look over here, everybody, look at this. They need some sort of distraction to help clean up this mess.
I hope so. That'd be a sweet little tidbit.
I agree. All right, so moving on though, Malden, you brought up a really interesting story.
I always do. Yeah, it's true.
About a company that's having a lot of success in the video game space, and that's Epic with Fortnite.
Oh yeah, so Disney. I think this came out today that Disney is investing $1.5 billion in Epic, and they want to create a persistent universe that's sort of or in Fortnite. So sorry, not just Epic, but specifically for Fortnite. So something similar along the lines of what Lego did. And this is right from Disney themselves saying, in addition to being a world-class games experience and interoperating with Fortnite, the new persistent universe will offer a multitude of opportunities for consumers to play, watch, shop, and engage with content, characters, and stories from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. There were a lot of commas in that sentence. Players, gamers, and fans will be able to create their own stories and experiences, express their fandom in a distinctly Disney way, and share content with each other in ways that they love. This will be powered by Unreal Engine. So this is something for you Fortnite players. That's kind of, I feel like, the future of a lot of game licensing is, if you want to play a type of game, you play it in Fortnite. If you want to see your favorite characters teabag each other, then go to Fortnite and get sniped and have Minnie come over and make fun of you and dance on your corpse, and then
Then
so
teabag
what do you think about this? Is that something that you'd be excited to see, Dan? Especially you're a big Fortnite player.
I do love Fortnite. This makes
You
me
and
a little
13-year-old
cautious.
boys just right there, just playing against each other.
Yep, someone's got to train them. I got to put them down.
It's
you know,
true.
That's right.
They're like rabid dogs. I'm like, but no, this does make me somewhat interested. Look, if you're going to partner with anybody, you got to partner with Epic. Fortnite is the premier live service as a game. They do a fantastic, phenomenal job, and yeah, I am a super fan of that. But that being said, this latest edition of Lego, as well as the rocket racing and then the music, has got the store and a lot of the UI pretty cluttered. So it makes me a little bit concerned, because in your statement you read, they said to play, watch, and then the last one, but I think the most important one, is shop. And so what's going to happen here is we're already inundated with content from all of these other experiences. Adding Disney to that as much is just going to add more clutter and more crap that isn't needed and get in the way of actually having a good time. So sounds good, but has me a little concerned with how handed and heavy fisted the whole microtransactions are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed. First of all, that is a good point, because also just with the shop too, and they're investing 1.5 billion. They're gonna expect a big chunk of the store to be dedicated to Disney,
or their own store or something crazy.
Yeah, maybe that is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be something entirely separate. I mean, I did see like a picture. It seems to me like they're gonna create their own little like island. Maybe they'll have like a movie theater, a concert zone, and it sounds like they want you to kind of create. So maybe they allow you to like almost make movies that'd be kind of cool. I hadn't really thought of that, but I'm all for it. I watched the Travis Scott concert like 6 times in Fortnite, so I do think Fortnite and Epic they can pull something like this off, and they can make the metaverse-esque type of style actually come to life. So who would have guessed Fortnite is going to be the destination to live a second life? It looks like you can. So crazy. It's just, I'm actually kind of excited to see where it goes, because it could potentially be awesome. I don't know about Disney, but like if somebody else were to be like, we want to build something just as crazy, then there's another opportunity for another company to do big things as well.
Yeah, when I bought Fortnite the Save the World on day one in whatever
With me.
8 years ago or so. Who would have thought that this is where it would have taken? Great, and that Save the World stuff was really fun too. I still think it's super fun. But it really is. It feels like that Ready Player One movie, and that whole scene. Like, yeah, I kind of want Minnie Mouse to teabag me. That's kind of fun.
No, you had said it earlier. This could be the potential multiverse. You know, like this is where it's growing, and seeing this happen. I mean, you had a good point of like, oh yeah, people talk about doing this shit, but they already are.
Yeah. Crazy.
And it's real easy. With the store stuff, I wouldn't be worried about. You just don't buy it. Just don't click on that button.
Easier said than done.
Yeah,
because
it's very
sometimes you need a Ninja Turtle. Like, it's not American if you don't love. You're un-American if you don't love Ninja Turtles. I'm sorry.
No, I just don't want to buy them. That's fine. Give them to me for free. Let me play for them, and then yes.
Okay,
Dan is like the whale that all the businesses
love. I swear, I look like a whale, but wait, that doesn't sound good.
Don't. Just because you have a big blowhole doesn't mean you look like a whale. You're silly.
Okay, moving on though. Talking about new games and potential microtransactions. Matt Molding, you had an interesting story about Final Fantasy 14.
So
Xbox.
Real quickly, I'm a huge Final Fantasy 14 fan. I played it on the PlayStation and I have a max level character and I love it very much. And I was super excited for it to come to Xbox because I wanted to get those achievements. But a little interesting tidbit that came out this week with the announcement of the beta that is going to be happening at the end of the month is that Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox is actually going to require a Game Pass subscription to play it. So you're going to need to, if you don't already, have a Game Pass subscription and then purchase a monthly subscription for the game itself. So if you were just a brand new player, you didn't get in on the free trial, a month of you playing that game is going to cost you a minimum of $23.
That's crazy. And I know crazy. This is on. I know the game's also on PlayStation. On PlayStation, do you have to have a pay for PlayStation Plus?
You absolutely do not. Nope. You can. You still have to buy the subscription to the game. You still have to buy the game DLCs when they come out.
But you don't have the added fee.
Nope. No, you just pay that. Yeah, it seems. I don't know. Is this? Do you think this is a deal that Microsoft had to make with Square Enix to get the game on this console, or do you think this is Microsoft being like, we want that, we want to get Game Pass players to purchase Game Pass?
That's a tough.
It's a
call.
Bad look. Yeah,
it's a bad look. There's a lot of bad looks happening with Microsoft.
I know, dude.
I wonder if Square Enix is getting like full. They're getting the kickback of. I'm not sure. Like, would they be getting a cut from the Game Pass?
Square
money?
Enix?
Yeah. Like, who is getting the money? Like, where? Why? It's very weird. It's the true Xbox tax.
Yeah.
And wait, does that also? It might be in that article, which I haven't deep dived into, but maybe. Wait, is it going to be on Game Pass? Like, are you going to be? If
it's got to be, right?
No, because I purchased the game through PlayStation. So I bought the game and the expansions. They aren't part of PS Plus. I think you are going to have to also buy the game itself on Xbox, in addition to having the Game Pass subscription and having the subscription to the game.
Oy, that's another.
I'm just going to play it on PlayStation because I already bought it there. So
that's another.
There's achievements I love, but I don't love them that much.
Okay, we're running low on time, and we still have the Suicide Squad review to get to, so I want to move things on. But real quickly, before we get to the Suicide Squad, I do want to touch on our listener emails. This week's email comes from my nephew, Jake, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And
hey, Jake.
And he writes, "Hello, guys. I'm writing to ask what your favorite storyline game or game you can play multiple times. Dan, my uncle, introduced me to Fallout 3 at a young age, and I loved it. I'm looking for more games like this, one I can play for hours with multiple playthroughs." So what do you
That's
guys
Well,
think?
Yeah, that's a
First
great
of all,
example.
Fallout 3 is
He's
a
starting at the
game that
top. Yeah, it's huge.
I almost put that game down. That's so funny. I love Fallout 3. Well, my games, Max Payne, played that PC and PS2 as well, and then Metal Gear Solid 3, even played that one on the 3DS, and then Half-Life. I just can't get enough. I could play Half-Life over and over again. Just beat Black Mesa, which is the reboot type thing, and this week. So those are the games. They're classics.
And how pumped are you that Remedy's working on the remake of 1 and 2 of Max Payne?
Very excited. I can't wait to play it for, the fifth time on, the PS5. Let's go.
Yeah, never played it.
Right,
For
Moldy?
me, it's I played Final Fantasy, so it was Final Fantasy 2 in the US on the Super Nintendo. I played that then. I've played it on the Super Nintendo Mini. I played it now on the Switch. That game I'll play multiple times, as well as Final Fantasy 6, which was Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo. Those games are timeless. The first time I ever cried on a game was Final Fantasy 2.
I can imagine little Matt.
Yeah, Polom and Parom. Ark is a game I can play over and over and over again. And then I'm actually super excited to play Tears of the Kingdom. I think I'll probably play that game once a year. I think that game is a fantastic game.
Great
Agreed.
game.
For me, of course, it's the old school stuff like A Link to the Past. I can pick up any Zelda game and just lose myself in it, and hours and hours and hours go by, and I'm like, I've already played this game. What am I doing here? But they're just so addictive. There's something great about that formula. But more modern games would probably include GTA 5. I have beat that one almost 3 times now, and that could be because I actually bought it on each generation that it came out on, and they refuse to make a new one, and so I'm stuck with the old one. But I love the story, I love the characters, and I beat that one several times. So definitely love to sink a lot of time in that one.
Who's your favorite character?
I love all the characters. I love Franklin. I love Michael. I love Trevor. I see little pieces of myself in all of them. I think they're all fun to hang out with, and their stories are all great.
I mean, isn't Trevor a psychotic murderer, and you see a little bit of yourself in that?
Well, he actually reminds me of you. You guys even look alike. So
Thanks. It's the receding hairline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That too.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks. I appreciate that. That's great.
And a huge thank you to my awesome nephew, Jake from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Thanks, Jake.
Congrats again on your marriage, and thank you so much for writing in. And anyone else who's interested in writing in, any of our listeners, please hit us up at goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com. All right. One more thing we got to touch on, and that is, of course, Suicide Squad. It's a game that I've hyped for weeks, and I've been super excited about, while these two naysayers right here have bagged on it for the past couple of weeks. And let's just say I played it.
I feel like I made fun of it multiple times today. I think it's such a crazy game.
It definitely is a game.
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you think? We watched the stream.
We did.
As much as it pains me to say this, you guys were absolutely 100% correct. That game is awful. And it really pains me to say this because I love the characters. I love the dark storyline of killing the Justice League. I love, all of the King Shark and Harley Quinn. And there's so much to love there. And watching a studio like Rocksteady drop it on their face is truly painful. The thought that this is the same studio that gave us classic games like all of the Batman Arkham series, and they did revolutionary things with that flowing combat and counters and stuff in all of the Batman games that everyone played and said, I wish this was in every single game. Well, I really wish it was in Suicide Squad, but
Ooh.
it's not. In fact, Suicide Squad truly does absolutely, fails on absolutely every level to invent anything interesting. And it makes me wonder why it even exists. It
Ooh.
is unfortunately not fun at all to play. And it's unfortunate on multiple levels. The first and foremost, of course, is the player control. So, playing this game, you do two things. You traverse the world, and then the second thing is you stop, stand there on the top of a building, and you shoot people. So, the traversal is confusing AF. You have multiple buttons and then timers that run out, and then you have to hit them again. And then it's different per character. And there are 4 characters that you have to try and play as. And then the actual combat itself is confusing. You've got your different guns and you've got your different buttons, but the main gameplay loop just isn't fun at all. The goal here is actually to shoot people in the legs to weaken them. Then they get a shield above them. And all the while you're being shot at. So you need these shields to stay alive. And then you switch to your melee, which for my character, Deadshot, ended up being more guns. And so you just switch to your pistols and you shoot them. And by the time you almost get them completely finished, someone like in your party or your AI companions snipe your kill. So it is a complete exercise in frustration, not only from the transversal, but also in the actual gameplay itself. I've heard that some people say the gameplay clicks for them. And I think that if you're an Avengers player and you really like the end game, you will like this game. I think there is stuff for people to like in this game. I don't want to, yuck anyone's yum, but for me, this was more of the yuck and not so much of the yum.
Ooh.
And I definitely, had a hard time getting through it. And it's a truly lost opportunity from such an amazing studio. So it was a little bit heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Scathing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've watched some of the, watching the stream for a few hours. I saw some of the combat, Dan, that you had mentioned, and I gotta say, it looked repetitive, and I only watched a few hours. So if you got to play 15 hours of that, I can only imagine. And then, Dan, I just have to ask you one question: where did they fumble the bag on this game? Like, where do you think it went wrong? How did it go so poorly for them?
That's a great question, and I unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think it's it failed at the very top. It was creatively bankrupt. There was nothing new brought to here. It was everything you've already done in a million other games, just not as good and not as fun. They failed to put any sort of original twist on it, and the game really shows. So it's pretty painful, and it sucks because I spent $70 on that, and I hate myself for it.
$70.
So if you were to cut out all the gameplay and just watch the cutscenes, is the story interesting at all?
Okay, I will give it that. That is a really great point. The cutscenes, while they are overly long and they pad out what is really almost like a 9 to 10 hour campaign, they are really well done. The animation, the story, it is all really, really great. The problem is you're sitting in a multiplayer game with your buddies and you want to play, and that's not the best time to sit back and, be watching these cutscenes because you've got someone jabbing your ear off or you're being distracted or something, and
I know
have that
some
connection.
of your friends too, so that jabbering has got to be crazy.
It's true. It's very true. So yeah, that they did a great job. Whoever did their the writing, the acting, all the cutscenes, superb. I suggest you watch them on YouTube if you're interested. Do not buy the game.
And you can watch the stream too.
Watch the stream that we did. Yes, good call.
Well, if you're feeling, if you bought Kill the Justice League and you need a palate cleanse, I suggest you go to our Twitter page at Good Playing With You and enter for a chance to win Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which we will have for this week. We'll have people can enter, and we will choose winners on Thursday, a week from today.
That's a great callback, especially because we're almost out of time on this episode. So why don't you remind us where else you can connect with us on social?
Yeah, so you can email us at goodplayingwithyou@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube at Good Playing With You. You can find us on Twitter at Good Play With You. I think you can search Good Playing With You and you'll get it too. And then we're also on Facebook. Our presence is not very strong at the moment, but we're going to get better.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty much everything that we've got for today. We appreciate you hanging out with us as always. On behalf of Good Playing crew, Matt Lord, Matt Balding, myself, Dan Whitehill, have a great weekend. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you guys.